Most likely if you're watching this video, it's because you're sick and tired of hearing the sales objection, "I'm not interested," and are looking for ways to handle this and still convert the person who says, "I'm not interested," either into an appointment or into a sale. And what I'm going to do in this video is give you not only the script behind how to handle this, either at the beginning of the call when you're trying to get in the door or at the end of the call when you're trying to close it, but also the psychology behind why the client says, "I'm not interested," even though many of those people who say, "I'm not interested," actually end up buying. My name is David DuFord. I own DuFord Insurance Group. I'm in the insurance sales business. We train and recruit people who want to sell insurance as agents to sell products like final expense life insurance, Medicare policies, health insurance, and annuity products, whether they want to do it remotely or in person. And if you'd like to learn more about how this works and learn more about the industry, just go to davidduford.com. Check out the links in the navigation menu. There's a great resource for people looking into the business. There's information on how to become an agent. There's nothing to buy. You can just check it out if you'd like to learn more about how insurance sales work. So let's jump right into it. So when you hear "I'm not interested," what is going on? So let's start first with the psychology. Then we're going to go with a script on how to deal with it in the appointment setting script, at the door over the phone, and then at the end of the call as well. So first of all, why do you hear something like "I'm not interested"? Well, first of all, the one thing about objections, especially at the beginning call and certainly at the end, is many a times the things that people say aren't true. This has been very hard for me as a salesperson 10 plus years to accept that sometimes people say things that aren't true. We're kind of trained, I think, in a sense to think of the best of people and judge them by the things that they say. But the reality is sometimes people say things that aren't necessarily lies, but in the heat of the moment, they say something that kind of gets the outcome of what it is that they want, which is not being in a stressful situation. And that's ultimately the underlying issue at hand when you hear something like "I'm not interested." People don't understand truly what it is that you're offering them, so they're saying something like "I'm not interested" based off of a limitation of facts. But they're really saying it because they're afraid of the consequences of having a salesperson come in. They're afraid of wasting their time. They don't know who you are. They don't know what this is about, and they're afraid of making a bad decision. So the ultimate psychology of dealing with an objection at the beginning of the call is to make sure you sell not the product to help clarify things, because again, that feels like you're selling them, but instead sell the appointment. Sell the benefit of how quick and casual it is to get the information, that there's no obligation, that you don't have to worry about anything necessarily. So that's how we're going to psychologically think about the script and overcoming the initial objections to get into the door. Now, at the end of the call, it's sometimes a little bit different. At this point, you've hopefully built some rapport, some trust, but even if you do everything right, there can be some residual concerns and resistance in existence before people actually make that decision to buy. Maybe it's just buyer's remorse or fear of making a wrong decision. So sometimes you'll hear at the end of the call, "Hey, I don't think this is really for me. I'm not interested." But like in the opening script, what you're hearing isn't necessarily gospel truth. It is a smokescreen for other issues underlying it. Maybe they're too coy to tell you that the price is too expensive. Or maybe they're just a little concerned about making that final commitment. Some people just have commitment issues after all, right? So these are what kind of are the underlying issues, and we're going to teach you an objection to address those issues right out the gate and still get the sale. Now, let's start first with how to deal with "I need to think about," or I'm not interested, at the beginning of the phone call or the door knock canvassing when you're trying to get in the door. So I do my opening pitch, and they say, "I'm not interested." I'm going to use what's called the Ask Rebuttal Strategy. It's very simple how it works. A means answer the objection. S means sell the appointment. Remember what we talked about earlier. And then C means close. So if somebody says to me, "Yeah, okay, I get it, but I'm not interested," my response is going to be like as follows. "No problem, Mrs. Prospect. All I need is 5 minutes to do my job and show you how this works, and what you decide to do with it's up to you. Why don't we sit out on the porch, or should I come in?" So let's break down what happened in that objection. First, I addressed her objection. That's called answering it. When you answer the objection, it can be as simple as, "That's fine, no problem, I understand." It is a non-threatening way to answer it, because what a lot of people are expecting kind of instinctively is that you're going to challenge them. They're going to have to become defensive. So this lowers their defenses when you say, "Hey, it's okay, no problem." The next step is selling the appointment. Notice I said nothing about the product. I sold her on, all I need is a few minutes to show you how the product works, and what you do with it's up to you. I gave her a script based off of it's short, it's quick and casual, there's no obligation to do anything with it, so there's nothing to lose as far as an amount of time, or there's no obligation to buy. So again, we're selling past that I'm not interested and selling you that core fear that the prospect has either in wasting time or dealing with a stranger they're unfamiliar with. And the last part of this is the most important, which is the close. You cannot just answer the objection and sell the appointment without closing the appointment. And you got to make sure you close correctly. Notice in my script, I just closed by giving the client an option to sit out on the porch to talk about this, or the option to sit inside at the kitchen table, I think I said. But notice what option I didn't give. An option for her to say what? No. You don't want to give an option to a prospect to say no. In other words, you don't want to close like, does that sound good? Or do you want to sit out here? Or can I come in? Because the client can say no. And when we frame and think about what we say as a frame of reference, when we give a client an option of no, they're more often than not take it. But if we take that option of no away and give an option of yes or a yes, then you're more likely going to get the outcome we all want, which is a yes to the appointment, where again, we're assuming the appointment. So all of it together, when somebody says, I'm not interested at the door or on the phone, the close is simple. That's fine. All I need is 5 minutes to show you how this works, what you do with it's up to you. Do I need to take my shoes off before I come in? Or you could say when you're booking the appointment, how about 10 o'clock or does 2 work better? So that's an alternate strategy that also works very well. So now that we've talked about how to deal with the I'm not interested on the front end of an appointment setting or cold canvas approach, let's talk about how to deal with it on the back end when you're closing and you hear somebody say, I'm not interested. So first thing about closing I want to talk about. This methodology I'm about to teach works really well when you already understand what makes the client tick, what their problems are, and how they address their concerns as the reason why they would want to buy. So if you go into this cold and you're closing without this information, it makes the closing part a lot harder. In a sense, what we're doing here at the close is using their own information they gave us in the close in order to convince them to buy. So you'll see me reference some like particular information in context of, say, selling life insurance that I only would have picked up had I fact found and gathered and pre-qualified the client earlier in the call. So that does require you to do this to be successful. Otherwise, remember, the psychology here of what we're hearing is it's just pushback. It's somebody who probably is interested but afraid to make a bad decision. So when you hear the client say, I'm not interested at the close after you present your options, we use the same methodology that we use to set the appointment with some various differences. We answered the objection. We now sell why they should buy anyway despite not being interested. Again, that's a claim. That's not reality, right? And the C is the close. We go back to close. Maybe if we use a good, better, best close, like which one of these options would work best for you. So here's how it all sounds. The client says, I'm not interested. I say, hey, I totally understand why you would say that, but here's why you need to proceed anyway. Remember how you said that your mother had died and didn't have coverage and how much of a travesty that was for your family and the financial stress that it caused? Well, you're in the same situation now. You told me this. And you also said you don't want your children to experience the same travesty of coming up with the money to bury you and all the fallout that happens from it. And the good news is you're in incredible shape. You can fit this budget. You said so yourself. And you're not getting any younger. It just gets harder to qualify for. Your health gets worse. The price goes up. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take this out today because you know you need it. This is the best thing for you. And what it's going to do for you, Mrs. Jones, is give you the peace of mind that you deserve. So out of these 3 options, which one do you want to start with today? So what I've done there, again, it's foundationally the same thing we did on the phone. But the selling part was a lot more elaborate because I'm trying to sell the multiple different angles, like reminding her of the experience that drew her to buying life insurance in the first place. I'm redescribing the benefit of what happens when she takes this out. And I'm also selling why she needs to do it today. She's not getting younger. It just gets more expensive. You may not qualify if your health changes. And I say all that to then just close based back on how we use the original close in this example, which one of these 3 options would work for you best today. So that's how we deal with the close. And again, you really, the effectiveness of this close depends on how well you pre-qualified earlier. Because what I'm doing with this close is I'm custom tailoring it to what the client's situation is. And if you don't do the kind of requisite pre-qualifying, it's very hard to close with this kind of conviction and this kind of connection with the client. Because remember, the power in this close comes to speaking to the client's experience, their fears, their problems, and how, and reminding them how this product that we're selling them, we're going to sell them, solves a problem that they have. So that's how we deal with the I'm not interested objection. No matter what it is that you sell, this information absolutely works. And if you're interested in learning more about selling insurance at DeFord Insurance Group or a career in selling insurance, like I said, go to daviddeford.com, learn more. You'll see the links in the menu. Best places to navigate up there and kind of just poke around. If you've got any questions, comments, leave them below and consider subscribing. Thanks a lot. Bye.